So guys, there are times when you cannot choose the weather conditions that you have when you go out on your fishing trip. And like a day like today, we have post-frontal conditions, and kind of in the fall and the spring, the post-front times I know can be challenging. But as we get into the fall to winter, I'm gonna share in this video a couple trips from years ago and from the other day on a guide trip where like how to fish that post-frontal time for success. Good fish. Whoa, hey, there we go right there, guys. Here we go, guys, a lipless crankbait fish right there. Hey, one of the biggest misconceptions I believe in fishing this time of year is on post-front conditions is just to go out to the lake and fish slow. Like I said, hey, I just caught this fish right here. I just lost a bigger fish right down the way. But like I said, hey, I am moving, trying to find them. Hey, these fish are eating. And like I said, it was just 2-3 days ago, 70 degrees and I was in shorts. Now here we are, it's 40 degrees. It was actually 32 degrees this morning. Let's put this fish right back in the water and go see if we can go get another one. Welcome to the Fishing Coach YouTube channel. Coach E, Jimmy Easterling. Go ahead and call me Coach, guys. I'm about to talk about first a post-frontal situation that they both these kind of do go in the fall time of the year before we get to the winter. With that, I'm gonna go for my shallow water guys, shallow water patterns, and to the offshore patterns as well. Okay, got some footage for you as well, on the water footage and action from the shallow water section. When I get to the end of the video, we will talk about the offshore stuff just from me talking, okay, and how I've done on some trips. But guys, let's say you have this post front comes in, it's been like a 70-80 degrees, and all of a sudden, like a day like today, I'm wearing tennis shoes today. I'm not even wearing my sandals like I've been wearing. Probably should have a hoodie. Pretty windy. Today's a bright blue sky day, but let's say you have one of those days where it goes from 70-80 degrees and all of a sudden it's like 40 degrees, okay? One thing that I like to do is go up shallow and throw moving reaction baits. Vibrating jig, bladed jig, a lipless crankbait, a flat-sided crankbait, some shallower running baits. For me, that lipless crankbait is my favorite for this time of year. And when I'm doing this is I'm looking for areas of transition. I'm looking for cover change from rock to sand, different types of rock, chunk rock to pea gravel. If you have like a lay down there, if you have a gravel bank and there's a lay down, I'm looking for these little changes. There we go. Hey, nice fish. Like I said, just another reason why, hey, after fishing the cold front, you don't got to slow down. Hey, you can fish them reaction moving baits. Try to figure out which one is the fish are eating that day. Right now, for me, it's a lipless crankbait. Like I said, a beautiful fish right there. I'm gonna let it go. And guys, a day like this also, there's gonna be some wind. You need wind when you're fishing these shallower areas, of course, to help you get more bites and to create that reaction strike. One thing you hear about the post front is, hey, I gotta slow down, throw that jig, I gotta slow down. No, guys, you always do not. Now, we're gonna talk about in a minute when you gotta slow down. But if you have a post frontal day and it is windy, it is cold, there are still opportunities to catch them with reaction moving baits. Talking about pieces of structure, points, guys, you know, I like the little ditches where the rounded points are, and there's little ditches and drains that could be there where there could be some cover change. That's another little area as well that I like to target for. And typically for me, if you find that one stretch of bank, that one area, they will hold to, and you might have to rerun them. You know, if you get a bite here one time or two bites, you might have to go back and rerun and run and run, and also start changing up the colors, change up your retrieves. When you're fishing shallow, I like to burn it, but if I hit that rock, I'm gonna rip it up and try to create another reaction strike off of it. And when you do rip it up, you'll kind of feel that thing kind of like all of a sudden a tick in your line, okay? So there's some slack there, you'll feel that tick kind of real set into it real lightly, okay? But guys, I love that shallow bite in there's post-frontal conditions like that. You want to get more efficient and catch more bass when you're out on the water with your time. Well, guys, let me show you two things that I do. I offer on the water lessons where I get in your boat or you get in mine, and we can go over techniques, we can go over patterns, we can also go over your electronics and how to use them to the fullest, forward-facing sonar or not. And then also, guys, I have my one-on-one virtual lessons that we can do through a Google Meet. It's an hour long, and we can talk about fishing, and more fishing, break down the lake, whatever you are interested in. Guys, more information, check out my Jimmy Easterling Fishing Facebook page or send me an email. Both of those are down there in the description. Appreciate you watching. Now let's get back to the video. Okay, guys, now let's get into what I had experienced the last week on some of my offshore forward-facing trips, okay? It was kind of a weird post-front, not as crazy of a front, but it was bluebird skies like a day like today, no wind at all. And we weren't catching them previously on topwater type baits in that 0 to 5 foot subsurface area. And all of a sudden, like, that wasn't happening. And these fish were moving out deeper where there was a thermocline, there's not anymore. They're in that 20 to 30 foot zone. And that's where, and this was an offshore trip, but this is where the guys with me got to learn how forward facing up here, yes, it helps. And this was a day where, like, if there was tournaments going on, guys, and if you were not specifically doing this, you were going to get beat, okay? It's crazy because, like, I mean, there was no wind, the lake's calm and flat. The fish that were subsurface were not eating, but those dudes in 20 to 30, they were not eating either. But when you were patient with them, and we were throwing the jig head minnow, we're fishing it really, really slow on them. We're light jig heads, 3/16 quarter ounce light jig heads, and we would get some to bite, and they were good 2 to 3 pound fish. And like the guys with me on this day were like, wow, we've seen the power of it. And like a day like that day, guys, I don't think like that. Like I felt like it was one of those tough fall days where they do not eat, no matter what you're doing. But we were on the deal and seeing them, throwing at them, throwing in the area they're in. Like I said, they weren't easy, guys. I mean, we probably threw it 500 fish and we caught 20 of them, okay? But the 20 we caught were good ones. And that's a deal too, guys, where, you know, I love fishing shallow in the fall. And I haven't got to do it as much lately due to my my trips and due to my lessons. But like, this was a day, if I was fishing shallow in the fall, probably wouldn't have happened, okay? Probably would not have happened at all. Guys, also, I'm gonna put all my information and baits and links down in the description if you're curious. Like that day, guys, like I said, it was the jig head minnow, it was the Baby Z2, Strike King Baby Z2, quarter ounce coin tackle jig head, the Level NGX series spinning rod, which I love it. Like, I love that rod, and I think I get more bites and catch more fish due to the action and how that rod works when I am shaking the minnow. Now, when we're caught these fish these days, guys, we're in the mouth of creeks. They were out there in the middle of the river channel. Some were close to ledges as they're working their way back, okay? Some were close there. But that was really a day to where, like, if I was up on the bank fishing, throwing the glide bait, throwing the frog, the swim jig, this guy out here was gonna win, okay? And so that's just something to keep in mind, guys, is if those days that are calm, like I said, bluebird skies, and you're up here fishing in that shallower zone and they're not eating, you then need to move out, further out, okay? Guys, hopefully this helps you out on fishing in these type of conditions of the year. Let me know what's your thoughts on this video. We appreciate you. We're gonna go to the Faith Juice segment. Okay, guys, let's dive deep into the Faith Juice segment today, and this is something that I'm kind of gonna build on from what a recent sermon we heard at our church, okay? And it's talking about peace and being a peacemaker. And it's something kind of like in a term I've not really had a conversation with somebody about recently, or really anybody about. I say really about like in the recent years. So it's kind of a good sermon and something that I want to share with you guys about. Of course, I'm not going to give you the sermon. I'm going to kind of give it a little general. But it's kind of like in peace, how are you handling peace situations, okay? And we're going to see what Scripture here says first. Just a couple things about peacemakers, okay? So peacemakers is blessed, Matthew 5:9. Blessed are those peacemakers, for they should be called sons of God, okay? If you go to Psalm 34:14, turn away from evil and do good. Seek peace and pursue it. Okay, James 3:18, and those who are peacemakers will plant seeds of peace and reap a harvest of righteousness. So, in this situation, thinking about where you work at, okay, or in a family setting, and that's kind of more of the situation that they were bringing up in church. The pastor did a good job. I was in a family situation, and this sermon was kind of getting us ready for Thanksgiving's coming up. We have holidays coming up, and there's a lot of division sometimes amongst families, and as we see in the world right now, there's a lot of division amongst people. So, how do you handle these situations? And let's kind of talk about just some things to where we can, because I know when I was a teacher and a coach, there was always some conflict sometimes amongst staff, kid situations, and that's one thing I always thought I did well with, was handling these situations. One thing I think is to listen. And when you listen, you might listen to the other person. Or like for me, it was kids. I'd listen to the kids in their situation, or if there was two kids, okay? One thing was to, another thing was not just listening, but maybe to direct somebody, okay? So if there's a problem amongst a staff or amongst a family member, you come up and bring that problem up to them, but you have to do it in a way of peace. You can't be direct and stern. It's bringing it up, and that's one thing I think is something as well, is not just letting it kind of slide. You bring it up. But one thing with it too is
That's where the listening comes in, but then patience. And then how patient are you amongst the whole situation? You can't get mad. You can't get defensive. But you need to find a way to where you can bring these situations together. So guys, that's what I'm going to ask you. What's your thoughts on being a peacemaker? And I know there's times like I'm in the boat with people, kids or whatever, and the fish aren't biting. And so then I have to, kind of be that situation to where, hey, what am I going to do to make this a positive situation here? And then that's where you kind of go back to, like I said, the staff you're working with, kids, your family, because I know here we are with the holidays coming up, the election's coming up, there's going to be some talks there, and I'm not like saying you need to have a deep discussion amongst your family, but how do you direct it to where you can be peace and then not have division amongst the family or your situation that you're in? Okay, appreciate you guys. Let me know your feedbacks down below, your thoughts on this, and ask yourself, are you a peacemaker? We'll see you on the next one.